Ja, mensen, we gingen net eerder ook live, maar helaas is dat in de soep gelopen. En ja, we gaan even kijken of het nou wel goed lukt. Dus geen introductie deze keer. En ja, we gaan meteen iets op tafel leggen. Kijk, nu, in deze tijden, word je dus gedefinieerd als wappie. Ja, serieus. Ook al heb je het over geschiedkundige dingen, dingen die al gebeurd zijn. Nee, je bent nog steeds een wappie. Ja, je bent nog steeds een wappie. Als ik bijvoorbeeld nou zou zeggen dat in 1814 je het congres van Wenen had, ja, dan zou je zeggen van ja, Rogier, dat verzin jij. Dat verzin jij. Nee, ik verzin het niet. Dat is echt daadwerkelijk gebeurd. Nou, wat is er gebeurd? We weten dat Napoleon ooit Europa min of meer in handen had. En daarbij behoorde ook Nederland. Nou, de Bataafse Republiek, zegt je wel iets. Dat was dus Nederland onder Frans bewind. Ja. En Napoleon, die werd dus verslagen. En dan heb je dus destijds Europese grootmachten die Frankrijk gingen verdelen. Ja. Dus, en ik verzin dit niet, hè. Dit is daadwerkelijk gebeurd. Maar toch word je beschouwd als wappie, als je het hierover hebt. Het ontstaan van een moderne Europa. Dan ben je wappie als je daarover praat. Serieus. En ja, ik vind het zeer, zeer jammer. Nogmaals, het congres van Wenen, ik heb het zo net aangehaald, dat is daadwerkelijk gebeurd. Serieus. Je had dus verschillende grootmachten, zoals eerder gezegd. De Pruisen, Oostenrijk, Rusland en Engeland. Die gingen dus Frankrijk verdelen en zoiets. Het congres van Wenen, ja, serieus. Maar toch word je bestempeld als een wappie. Ja, jij bent een wappie. Jij bent een wappie als je het daarover hebt. Hoezo? Je hoeft toch geen wappie te zijn? Nee, dit zijn gewoon geschiedkundige feiten. We laten even een filmpje zien van het congres van Wenen 1814. Ja, er zijn natuurlijk geen beelden van, maar wel een animatie. Dus we laten dat filmpje even zien. Belangrijk dat we onze geschiedenis kennen. Ja. Zo. The Congress of Vienna, 1814, 1815. Ja, we gaan even hier naar kijken.
In the wake of Napoleon's defeat, Europe is left deeply disorganized after nearly a quarter of a century of revolution and war. Under the leadership of the four great victors over France, the United Kingdom, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, the European countries meet in Vienna to determine the fate of the territories that were shattered by the Napoleonic conquests and reconstruct a European order. Two principles dominate the negotiations: the preservation of political equilibrium among the powers and the restoration of old dynasties driven out by the revolutionary wave. The decisions taken in Vienna redraw the political map of Europe. Prussia expands to include a part of the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, Swedish Pomerania, over half of Saxony, and above all, the greater part of the Rhineland. With these acquisitions, Prussia definitively obtains the status of a great European power. Russia secures its takeover of Finland. It is granted trusteeship over the greater part of Poland and removes Bessarabia from the Ottoman Empire. The Tsar thereby continues his march towards Constantinople. Austria, for its part, recovers the Tyrol and receives the kingdom of Venetian Lombardy, as well as Dalmatia. These latter territorial expansions give the Habsburg Empire a southern and Mediterranean engagement. The United Kingdom has no territorial claims on the European continent. More concerned with developing its colonial empire and ensuring the security of its commercial shipping lanes, it obtains a certain number of islands, such as the islet of Helgoland in the North Sea, as well as Malta, and the Ionian Islands in the Mediterranean. Sweden sees its annexation of Norway confirmed at the expense of Denmark, which, in compensation, receives the duchies of Holstein and Lauenburg. France, a defeated power, regains approximately its borders of 1792. To curb its territorial ambitions, two buffer states are reinforced at its borders. In the north, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which includes Belgium, is created, whereas in the south, the Kingdom of Piedmont-Sardinia recovers Savoy, the county of Nice, and expands to include the region of Genoa. Finally, the decisions taken at the Congress of Vienna leave the Italian peninsula, as well as Germany, partitioned, in spite of the creation of the German Confederation. The new European order, drawn up in Vienna, marks the revenge of the Ancien Régime against the ideals of liberty resulting from the French Revolution, and fails to meet national aspirations that are growing in Europe. Numerous peoples are left greatly disappointed. The Poles, whose country is once again wiped off the map. The Belgians and Norwegians subjected to foreign rule. Italian and German patriots who aspire to some form of national unity. In the Balkans, the weakening of the Ottoman Empire sustains the desire for independence among Christian peoples. Serbs, Greeks, Bulgars, Romanians.
Ja, mensen, daar kunnen we het zien. Dat was het congres van Wenen. Dus Europa werd opnieuw ingedeeld. En dat was rond 1815. En daarna kwam er toch een grote discontent. We zien dan de revoluties van 1848. Revolution. Zo. Dit is dan ook de beginselen van de Duitse staat. 1866 Tegelse Duitse staat. Erg belangrijk dat we dit weten. Ik heb het al eerder aangehaald, maar goed. Herhaling is goed, zegt men. Dus, Europe ablaze, the 1848 revolutions. Ja. Dus er was een tijd van stabiliteit in Europa. En ja, ook een tijd van grote onrust in Europa. 1848 revoluties, ook de Russische Rijk heeft ermee te maken. Goed, we gaan even hier naar kijken. Lang niet alles natuurlijk. Maar even om de beeld te schetsen en ook de interesse te prikkelen.
It's after his defeat, the shadow of Napoleon Bonaparte and the French Revolution still looms over Europe. The peace settlement of 1815 had been a triumph for reactionary forces. Europe's great powers, Britain, France, Austria, Prussia and Russia, were committed to working together to ensure no more revolutions. Radicalism and republicanism would not be allowed to disturb the peace of Europe again. Austrian Chancellor Prince Clemens von Metternich is regarded as the architect of this new conservative order. Some historians call it the Metternich system. And yet, across Europe, there are many for whom the ideals of the French Revolution remain not a nightmare, but an inspiration. Liberals seek personal freedoms and civil rights, such as equality before the law, protected by constitutions, a free press and regular elections. Nationalists share these aims with a desire in Italy and Germany for national unification, or in the multi-ethnic Austrian Empire for greater recognition, autonomy and respect for language. Poles continue to seek the restoration of an independent Poland, and have launched one bloody uprising against the Russians in 1830. Their cause is supported by liberals across Europe. In most countries, liberals and nationalists face draconian censorship laws, arrest by the secret police, and bans on political parties and meetings. But there are always loopholes. In France, private banquets turn into political rallies. In Italy, scientific societies discuss politics, while gymnastic groups do the same in Germany. These liberal movements are dominated by the middle class, with their own local and national agendas, but also many shared values and aims. They are passionate, organized, and waiting for their opportunity. But it isn't just the middle classes that want change. By 1848, rising populations and food prices had created hunger, poverty, and social unrest across Europe. Low wages and hunger drive peasants to cities in increasing numbers, where they become cheap labor to feed the growing pace of industrialization. They live in slums and work long hours in dreadful conditions, if they can find work. Violent protests by workers and peasants are on the rise. Harvest failures and potato blight make a bad situation worse, with a deadly famine in Ireland and food riots across France. In the face of such crises, Europe's governments offer little support or hope of reform. When French Prime Minister François Guizot is challenged that only the richest 0.5% could vote in France, he merely replies, "Enrichissez-vous, get rich."
Ja, dan moet je zelf maar rijk worden. Hè. Je hebt geen eten, noem het allemaal maar op. Er waren echt de harde tijden destijds. Hè. En deze mensen, die leven nu, net als nu, ook buiten de realiteit. De minister van Financiën, die zegt van, ja, je moet maar rijk worden. Niet iedereen krijgt die kans natuurlijk. Ja. Dus we kijken verder.
In the winter of 1847-48, a sharp economic downturn throws thousands more out of work. The case for reform is more urgent than ever, but Europe's governments fail to act. The stage is set for a European revolution. This video is sponsored in southern Italy. The kingdom of the Two Sicilies is ruled by Spanish Bourbon king Ferdinand II. His disastrous agrarian reforms have united Sicilian landowners and peasants against him. His kingdom will witness 1848's first revolution. In Sicily, furious crowds chase Bourbon troops out of Palermo, and the island declares independence, readopting its liberal constitution of 1812. Revolutionary fervour spreads to the mainland. Mass rallies in Naples force King Ferdinand to issue his own constitution. In Piedmont, Sardinia, the threat of revolution persuades King Carlo Alberto to grant a constitution, and there are celebrations in the streets of Turin. Across the border in Austrian-ruled Lombardy-Venetia, Italian nationalists revolt in Milan and Venice and drive out the Austrian garrisons. But as dramatic as these events are, they're about to be eclipsed by news from Paris.
Daar kunnen we het zien, hè. When France sneezes, Europe catches a cold. Dat is dus, zoals Zino het mooi zei, Metternich. Ja. Die zei dat. En de Franse revolutie heeft toch wel heel veel liberale ideeën met zich meegebracht. Waar we nu nog steeds vorm aan proberen te geven. Ja. Maar ja, goed. Dat even als geschiedenis zijnde. We gaan ook vooruitkijken. Want ja, gisteren waren we dus niet live. En er is natuurlijk heel veel gebeurd gisteren. Zoals wat er in Rusland is gebeurd. Met Wagner. Ja. En we zoeken even naar de link. Het duurt eventjes. We weten dat de leider van de Wagner-groep zich heeft gekeerd tegen de Russisch leger. En we weten ook dat het Russisch leger een contract voor die Wagner-groep had. En ja, daar willen ze natuurlijk niet aan meedoen. Ja. Dus we gaan even kijken naar de leider van de Wagner-groep. En dit was in Bakhmut. Maar gaan we natuurlijk eerst even aanwijzen waar Bakhmut ook weer ligt. Zo. Bakhmut. Zo. Donetsk Oblast. Hier hebben we dus Bakhmut, waar Wagner zich staande heeft gehouden in Bakhmut tegen het leger en zoiets. En de leider van de Wagner-groep, die was het niet mee eens met het leger van Rusland, die hun eigenlijk ammunitie moet geven en wapens en zoiets. Ja, als Bakhmut wordt uitgekozen door Oekraïne als een offensief, een plek dat je aan moet blijven vallen, ja, daar heb je ook wel munitie nodig en zoiets. En dat kreeg de leider van de Wagnergroep niet. Nee. Dus die heeft een filmpje gemaakt. Met allerlei Russische huurlingen. Ja, soldaten zou je eigenlijk kunnen zeggen, maar het zijn huurlingen. Ja, we gaan even hier naar kijken.
Вот это вот парни ЧВК «Вагнер», которые погибли сегодня. Еще кровь свежая.
These are the guys from the Wagner PMC who died today. The blood is still fresh. Ja, er is natuurlijk gebeurd. Ja, en zoiets.
Сними всех.
Het zijn er behoorlijk veel.
А теперь слушайте меня, сука, блядь.
Now listen to me, effing bitches. Ja, moet maar vanuit gaan. These are someone's fathers and someone's sons. Ja, er wordt ook heel veel gevloekt. En zoiets. Dus deze Prigozhin, die was het dus niet mee eens met het beleid dat uitgevoerd werd vanuit Moskou. En die is naar Rusland toegegaan. Ja. Zo. Wagner Group. Zijn naar Rusland toegegaan. In, waar was dat? Rostov-on-Don. Ja, en Poetin heeft er nog op gereageerd. Daar gaan we ook zo naar kijken. We gaan eerst even naar deze beelden kijken hier. Ja. En dit was dus gisteren, toen we niet live waren. Zijn we een keer niet live.
Генерального... Мы находимся здесь, блокируем город Ростов. Начальник генерального штаба бежал отсюда, как только узнал о том, что мы подходим к зданию. Мы находимся в штабе, 7 часов 30 минут утра, под контролем военные объекты Ростова, в том числе аэродром. Самолеты, которые уходят для боевой работы, уходят штатно, проблем никаких нету. Санитарные борта уходят, проблем нет. Все, что делается, это мы взяли под контроль, чтобы штурмовая авиация не наносила удары по нам, а наносила по украинцам.
Nou, daar kunnen we het zien. Heel veel tumult om de Wagner-groepering in Rostov-on-Don. En ja, we laten dat natuurlijk ook op de kaart zien. dan weet je precies waar het over gaat. Dit is een escalatie van de huidige oorlog in Oekraïne. En, oh nee, die hebben we al gehad. Ik ga een ander tabblad pakken. Rostov-on-Don, dat gaan we dus ook opzoeken. Het ligt niet ver van de grens af. Dus we hoeven maar uit te zoomen. En we zien hier Rostov-on-Don. Ja. Dus, en daar vanuit zijn ze naar Moskou gegaan, mochten we de media geloven. En ja, je ziet het daar, het is gewoon één lange weg naar Moskou. En Rusland heeft destijds ook wat hindernissen geplaatst. De snelweg, ook een stuk snelweg afgebroken en zoiets om het maar moeilijk te maken. Ja. En ja, we gaan zo kijken naar Poetin, hoe hij hierop reageerde. Ja. Hij zegt dat het verraad is. En ja, daarin kan ik hem gelijk geven, ja. Als er een huurlingengroep voor Nederland opereert en die gaat ineens tegen de Nederlandse staat keren, ja, snap je? En ja, je kan het er mee eens zijn of je kan het er niet mee eens zijn. Ja, het feit is dat Rusland dat doet. En Rusland is daar niet het enigste land in. We kennen dus ook Amerika, Blackwater, ik wou bijna Black Rock zeggen. Maar Blackwater, die waren dus aanwezig in Afghanistan en Irak. Ja. En ja, het is gewoon zeer, zeer triest. Je wilt niet dat Rusland uit elkaar valt. Nou, sommige mensen willen dat wel binnen de NATO. Maar ik wil dat niet. Laat Rusland mooi Rusland zijn. Met hun cultuur. Orthodoxe christenen. En zoiets. Ja. We moeten hun gewoon met rust laten. We gaan kijken naar de Wagner groep die dus Rusland verlaten. Patrick Lancaster was aanwezig daar in de buurt. En we gaan zo naar wat beelden van hem kijken. Dan zien we een Russische populatie die dus op straat allemaal aanwezig zijn en handen schudden met de Wagner huurlingen. En we zijn trots op jullie en zoiets. Dat krijg je dan allemaal te zien. Ja, we gaan zo overschakelen naar Patrick Lancaster. Hier hebben we Patrick Lancaster, ja, hij is moeilijk verstaanbaar. Er gebeurt natuurlijk heel veel. Zoals je achter kan zien, een hele grote publiek. Die waren allemaal trots op de Wagner-groep. En we krijgen ook een exclusive van Prigozhin, hoe heet die? Dus ja, we gaan even hier naar kijken, naar deze beelden hier zo. Historische beelden. Ja, wat er dus gebeurd is dat Lukashenko van Wit-Rusland, die heeft zich daarmee bemoeid. die heeft gezegd van nou, kom maar naar Wit-Rusland, krijg je hier zo asiel. En dan kun je hier zo je straf min of meer ontwijken. En ja, Poetin die heeft hem ook dat ja, kwijtgescholden eigenlijk. Oh ja, we zullen naar de reactie van Poetin kijken. Nou ja, dit komt er nog wel. Ja. Kijken of we het zo kunnen vinden. Mutiny in Russia. Ja. Dit is trouwens ook een filmpje dat hij voor de interventie deed. En ja, het is niet dat ik voor Rusland ben. We willen een einde aan de oorlog. Maar wat hier zo gebeurt, het is natuurlijk ja, heel erg. Want er blijft de oorlog langer doorgaan. En dat willen we niet. We gaan even hier naar kijken, Sky News. Naar de reactie van Poetin nadat de Wagner-groep in Rusland ging opereren. Even terugspoelen.
I am addressing the citizens of Russia, particularly with regard to Prigozhin's Wagner private troops and to the commanders against that action. This action is heroic. And last night I spoke to the commander of the southern troops. This is a criminal, adventuristic campaign. It is equivalent to armed mutiny. Russia will defend itself and repel this inimical move. We are fighting for the life and the security of our citizens and our territorial integrity. It is a question of Russia's millennial history. This requires the unity of everyone and the consolidation of all elements. Everything has to be done in order to put this danger to rest. It is an attempt to subvert us from inside. This is treason in the face of those who are fighting on the front. This is a stab in the back of our troops and the people of Russia. Intrigues, clashes, and so on has led in the First World War to tremendous turmoil and unrest. And that resulted in the tragedy of the First World War, and the Russians were the victims of that. And this was affected by a number of opportunistic elements. We will not let this be repeated. We will defend our motherland, including overcoming a number of obstacles. This is treason, and it is about the ambition of inimical forces. The heroes who freed the areas, the occupied areas of Ukraine, are trying to re-establish the hegemony, the domination of the Russian territories. We are fighting against anarchy and capitulation. This internal mutiny is a mortal blow to us. It is a blow to our people as a whole. And punitive measures will be very hard. These people who are responsible will certainly be brought to justice on behalf of our people. The armed forces and other force agencies have received instructions, and restrictive measures have been taken in Moscow region, and lots of other regions. The situation around Rostov remains, however, very complicated. As President of Russia and Commander-in-Chief, as a citizen of Russia, I am doing everything to repel this attack and to ensure the freedom and security of our citizens.
Nou, dat heeft hij dus gedaan. Kijk, de microfoon staat aan. Dat heeft hij dus gedaan. Samen met Lukashenko. Ja, de president van Wit-Rusland. En ja, men zegt, dat is een tweetje. Maar ten eerste werd de Wagner-groep goed onthaald. Zoals we bij Patrick Lancaster zagen. We gaan ook de beelden afdraaien.
Special update from Rostov. Right behind me, you see civilians gathering to, it seems, see off the Wagner group. The day has gone through so many different changes here in Russia. The day started with the leader of the Wagner group, Prigozhin, saying that the Ministry of Defense of Russia fired on his forces from the rear, these forces, the Wagner group, as they were in the war zone fighting. And Prigozhin brought his forces into Rostov and took control of part of Rostov. And the Ministry of Defense and Russian authorities were calling them traitors. And he was making demands. And just hours ago, and over here we can see some of the, let's go over this way. Right here we can see a Wagner tank that was here in the center of Rostov. And just hours ago, the head of the Wagner group met with the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, and had negotiations. And the result of that negotiations was that his longtime enemy, the Minister of Defense of Russia, Shoigu, and Shoigu's deputy are at least going to be resigning. We've been on the road for 10 hours to get here to show you what's happening here on the ground, and we're doing that.
Ja, zoals je ziet, heel veel mensen op straat. We zetten even het geluid uit. Laten we beelden afdraaien. Heel veel mensen op straat. Trots op de Wagner groep. Voor het moeilijke werk wat ze daar in het oosten doen van Oekraïne. Kijk, deze vrouw die zwaait ze nog even uit. En zoiets. Die ook. Ja. Nou, wordt hier wat gezegd.
бы побыстрее все вместе объединимся, вместе мы сила, Ахмат и Вагнер сила.
Nou, je hoort het, hè? Het zijn onze jongens. Ja. Ongeacht onder welke naam ze opereren. Maar dit zijn dus paramilitaire eenheden. Ja. En je zou zeggen huurlingen. Maar ja, kijk hier zo. We bidden voor jou.
Как будем жить дальше?
Результат сегодня.
Результат нормальный.
Нормально?
Всех взбодрили.
Удачи вам.
Счастливо.
Счастливо. So, we just got a short little interview there with the head of the Wagner Group as he was leaving the area here in Sinter Rostov. That was Prigozhin.
Nou, je kan het hier zo zien, hè. Kijk, wat we moeten beseffen, als Nederlanders zijnde, is dat Rusland eigenlijk een defensief land is. Het is geen offensief land. Maar ze hebben wel eens andere landen aangevallen, zoals Japan en Afghanistan. Maar het komt zeer zelden voor dat Rusland aanvalt. Waarom zou ze? Ze hebben al zoveel grondstoffen en zoiets. Het heeft 8 tijdzones, hè. 8 grootste land ter wereld. En dan gaat het om zo'n klein stukje Oekraïne. Ja, het is heel erg vreemd wat hier allemaal gebeurt. Je zou zeggen, Rusland heeft land genoeg. Maar ja, dit gebeurt allemaal. En we zagen net dat de Wagner-coup mislukte. En ja, de Wagner-leider die gaat dus naar Wit-Rusland. Ja, Lukashenko heeft dat geregeld samen met Vladimir Poetin. En ja. Mark, je zal niet zo blij zijn. Nee, denk ik niet. Ja. Want ook Mark Rutte sprak zich uit over de verkiezingen in Wit-Rusland. We weten nog. Sorry, ik heb iets in mijn keel. We weten nog dat er grote demonstraties waren in Wit-Rusland. En de mensen die dus gingen protesteren, werden echt ruw behandeld. En in de gevangenis gegooid. En noem het allemaal op. Het is echt zeer, zeer triest. Maar ja, dit gebeurt. We laten even wat beelden zien van destijds. Toen er verkiezingen waren in Wit-Rusland. En zo. We hebben het al een keer laten zien. Ja. Belarus protests. Ja. En waarom? Ze wouden een ander leider hebben. Ja. Maar dat is hun niet gegund. Lukashenko wordt ook de laatste dictator van Europa genoemd. Ja. En ja. We gaan even hier naar kijken. Al Jazeera, 2 jaar geleden alweer. We gaan even kijken naar deze mooie beelden.
After a week of threats coming from Lukashenko, this is a reply from the people of Belarus. Tens of thousands took to the streets of Minsk in defiance, their fear replaced by anger. While armed soldiers and police were standing by, families with small children shouted the president should step down.
Безусловно, конечно, мы проезжали.
Yes, we have passed police several times, and we're not afraid anymore, and our children are not afraid too.
Do you think Lukashenko now will get the message?
I don't think he's able to get the message. But I hope people around him will still be getting these messages more and more and believe in his team and join our team.
Why are you not scared?
I don't know. I'm just not scared. Because, you know, the good people win, always. It could be earlier, could be later, but they win always.
Put Lukashenko in a detention vehicle, these people are chanting. Meanwhile, all Soviet music is coming from the government's loudspeakers, along with orders to stop the unofficial gathering.
While the authorities keep ordering them to leave the square, these people are not going anywhere. With the military on standby, this is the biggest act of defiance we've seen in Belarus so far.
Since the disputed presidential vote on August 9, protesters have been defying the authorities by gathering every day, calling for an end to President Lukashenko's 26-year rule. Ahead of Sunday's rally, the Belarus army rolled into the central city streets, a warning to those marching that any unrest near monuments and statues would not be tolerated. But the feared violent crackdown did not happen. When tens of thousands marched towards Lukashenko's residence, armed police blocked the road. In what looked like a scene from a war movie, Lukashenko was filmed flying over the city in a helicopter wearing an armed vest, together with his 15-year-old son in combat gear. Then the president emerged from the helicopter carrying a rifle. When he thanked police who guarded him at the palace, they told him they will stay with him until the bitter end. An end that might just have come a little closer. Step Vassen, Al Jazeera, Minsk.
Dat gebeurt dus, 2 jaar geleden alweer. Ik dacht wat langer, maar ja, goed. Kan aan mij liggen. Maar dit is dus gebeurd. En ja, het is... ik gun de mensen in Wit-Rusland wel een democratie. Na, wat was het, 27 jaar of zo, wat zei ze nou, mag je toch wel een ander leider krijgen, vind ik. Ja. Maar ja, dat zijn autoritaire regimes, hè. En ja, daar ben ik zeer, zeer op tegen. En heel veel mensen weten nog niet ja, de geschiedenis van Rusland. Wat we dus ook al heel vaak hebben aangehaald. Hè. We kunnen nog eens even iets laten zien. De Decemberists. Ja. De eerste militaire opstand tegen de koning. En ja, we gaan even daarnaar kijken. De Decemberists. So, Russia's first revolutionaries, the Decemberists. All parts. Dat hoeven we niet per definitie te zien. Even kijken. We zoeken ook een beetje een kort filmpje. 31 minuten lang. Dat is wel erg lang. Nou ja, deze dan maar van 28 minuten of 25. We laten een groot gedeelte zien.
At the Battle of Waterloo, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte suffers his final defeat, and 2 decades of war in Europe come to an end. The victorious powers, led by Austria, Britain, Prussia and Russia, meet at Vienna to decide the fate of Europe. The frontiers of nations and empires are redrawn, while Emperor Alexander of Russia adds King of Poland to his list of titles. He also oversees creation of a holy alliance to ensure that no more revolutions threaten Europe's established order. The Russian Empire, after many great sacrifices in the wars against Napoleon, emerges more powerful than ever. But not everyone in Russia is pleased with the new state of affairs. A group of young army officers dream of a different future Russia, a new form of government, radical reforms, even a Russia without a Tsar. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. These days, more and more people are using a VPN for a more... In 1812, Napoleon had invaded Russia with the largest army Europe had ever seen. It was a defining moment in his reign. But he underestimated Russian resolve. 4 months later, the remnants of his army began its infamous retreat from Moscow. The Russian army and its coalition allies then drove Napoleon's forces back across Europe, fighting giant battles in Germany, and finally arriving in the streets of Paris itself. Napoleon's abdication was a moment of triumph for Emperor Alexander and for Russia. For many young Russian officers, it was also an eye-opening experience. Imperial Russia was an autocracy, ruled by an emperor with no checks upon his power. There was no political opposition or constitution. There was no freedom of speech or right to trial. Approximately 80% of Russians were serfs, peasants with no rights, freedom, or hope of betterment, their status passed down to their children. The inefficiency, not to mention injustice, of such a system was increasingly apparent even to many Russian aristocrats. In Europe, serving as officers in the Russian army, they'd visited countries where serfdom had been swept aside by war and revolution, and where monarchs had granted constitutions that limited their power, protected freedoms, and acknowledged the rule of law. Many were inspired and began to dream of similar reforms in Russia. But few placed faith in Emperor Alexander to aid their cause. On the night of the 11th of March, 1801, Alexander's father, Emperor Paul, was strangled to death by a group of disaffected army officers. Alexander succeeded to the throne, aged just 23. The ineffectiveness and chaos of his father's rule had appalled him. In 1797, he'd written to his tutor, "To speak plainly, the well-being of the state is not at all considered in the administration of affairs. There is only absolute power, which does everything wrong and at cross purposes. The choice of officials is entirely a matter of favoritism. Merit counts for nothing. The farmer is plagued, commerce is hindered, personal liberty and well-being are reduced to nothing. There you have the picture of Russia. Judge how my heart must suffer. The young Alexander displayed a great enthusiasm for reform, an encouraging sign to Russian aristocrats who wished to see a more modern Russian state. In 1803, he passed a decree that gave landowners the right to free their serfs. Many hoped it was a first step towards the abolition of serfdom. In 1808, the brilliant and liberal-minded Mikhail Speransky became Alexander's chief advisor. He created a new Council of State to advise the emperor, and even began working on a Russian constitution. But in 1812, Alexander's appetite for reform ended abruptly. First, an anti-reform faction, led by the emperor's sister, Grand Duchess Ekaterina Pavlovna, engineered Speransky's dismissal. Then, Napoleon invaded Russia. In this moment of supreme crisis, Alexander was seized by religious fervor, a sense of personal mission and national destiny. The burning of Moscow, he declared, had illuminated his soul. Liberal reforms, he could now see, were only the road to anarchy and chaos. They were an intolerable risk to Russia's holy institutions. In 1815, any officers returning from Europe harboring hopes of reform were to be severely disappointed. Alexander added insult to injury by granting a liberal constitution not to Russia, but to his new kingdom, Poland. Not one, it turned out, he planned to honor. 3 years later, when Alexander raised the possibility of a Russian constitution based on this Polish experiment, it proved an empty promise. Idealistic young officers, more alienated than ever, decided that if the emperor would not take up their cause, they must act themselves. They began to organize secret societies and to plan a revolution. Many Russian military officers already belonged to a secret society. Freemasonry had been imported from Europe in the 18th century and was popular among army officers. But in 1816, officers from Russia's prestigious Guards regiments, based in St. Petersburg, formed a new secret society, the Union of Salvation.
En daar kunnen we het zien, hè, de Union of Salvation. Er waren de beginselen van de decemberistenopstand. Ja. Allerlei mensen uit het leger kwamen bij de Union of Salvation. En je had dus verschillende groeperingen binnen het Russische Rijk. Wat de Union of Salvation betreft. En ja, later op de kaart zien. Ja. Zo. Dan moet je dit erbij voorstellen. Estland, Letland, Litouwenië, Polen, Wit-Rusland, Oekraïne. Ja, dat was ongeveer het Russische Rijk. En dat ging zich uitbreiden in de Balkan. Ja. Die hebben ook tegen de Ottomanen gevochten. Al een heel lange tijd. We kennen ook de Krimoorlog, 1853 tot 1856, waarin Frankrijk en Engeland de Krim in handen probeerden te nemen. Dat ging dus om religieuze invloeden in de Balkan en rondom Anatolië, destijds nu Turkije. En ja, erg interessant die tijdperk. Zo kennen we dus ook Florence Nightingale. Ja. Die was dus in Istanbul, een grote gebouw, oud paleis of iets in die trend. Maar ja, dat kunnen we ook wel op gaan zoeken. Florence Nightingale, erg interessant. Maar goed, dat was dan het Russische Rijk, hè, zo'n beetje. En ja, men wou toch een constitutie hebben. Men wou allerlei dingen voor Rusland. Allerlei bewegingen en zoiets. Maar de Union of Salvation die was net zo goed in Oekraïne gaande. Ja. Dat was de noordelijke Union of Salvation. Dat zat dus in Sint-Petersburg en ook in Moskou. En de zuidelijke, dat was in Kiev. En daar rondom, ja. Dus, dan weten we dat ook, hè. Ja. We kijken verder naar de decemberopstand. Zo. Union of Salvation. Dus een occulte groep, een geheime groep, die dus door het leger bestuurd werd. Zowel noordelijk als zuidelijk. Ja.
4 of its founding members would play a leading role in a revolutionary movement that became known as the Decemberists. Nikita Muravyov, a captain in the Guards Division staff, aged 31 at the time of the Decemberists' revolt. He would draft one of their major plans for constitutional reform. Lieutenant Colonel Sergei Muravyov Apostol, aged 30 at the time of the revolt. He would lead the Decemberist uprising in Ukraine. Colonel Prince Sergei Trubetskoy, aged 36 at the time of the revolt. A war hero from one of Russia's most distinguished families, Trubetskoy would be chosen to lead the Decemberist coup in St. Petersburg. And Colonel Pavel Pestel of the Vyatka Infantry Regiment, aged 33 at the time of the revolt. Also a decorated war hero, badly wounded at Borodino. He was a brilliant if uncompromising officer and one of the most active and radical members of the Union. He would argue for the Emperor's death and creation of a Russian Republic. The Union of Salvation soon merged with another secret society, the Order of Russian Knights, to form the Union of Prosperity, with more than 200 members. Its charter, known as the Green Book, set out how the Union was to be organized. It also spelled out its commitment to educating the public about Enlightenment ideals of virtuous, moral citizenship. This, it was hoped, would generate wider support for reform among Russia's elite.
No bullet can stop an idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo, of no army. Dat wordt in vele manieren vertaald. No army can stop an idea whose time has come. Dus dit is eigenlijk dankzij de Franse Revolutie. Ja. Maar goed, als je het hierover hebt, dan ben je een wappie. Ja. En ja, ik vind het triest. Dit is daadwerkelijk gebeurd allemaal. Nou, was ik erbij? Nee, maar het staat wel in de geschiedenisboeken geschreven zo. Ja. Dus, ja. Maar je bent dan raar als je het hierover hebt. Heel veel mensen weten hier niet vanaf. Ja, die hebben zoiets van, boeien. Boeien. Ja, Russisch geschiedenis, boeien. Nee, dat is interessant. Dat is echt super interessant hoor. Elke land heeft zo zijn zwarte pagina. Ja, en Rusland is ook. Ja. En ja. Er valt nog genoeg aan te wijzen. We gaan ook nog eens even kijken naar wat er elders gebeurt in de wereld. Obsessed with the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, 34 minuten geleden. We gaan even kijken naar de Duran, kijken wat die te zeggen hebben.
All right, Alexander, let's talk about what is going on in Ukraine and the counteroffensive, the offensive, the counteroffensive, whatever you want to call it. Here's something interesting before you give us the info on what is happening on the ground, and I'm sure you're going to talk about Zaporozhye. You may want to talk about Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal and their nuclear escalation threats. A lot of threats about the a lot of threats about the ZNPP as well, coming from Ukraine. So they're up to, they're hoping to cook up something. That's clear that they want to do something. But before you get into all of the stuff, whether it's on the ground or the geopolitical, here's something interesting from Ukraine Finance Minister Kaluba speaking to a Ukrainian TV channel, I believe Strana TV. And, the first narrative about the big counteroffensive that we were fed for the past 3 months was this lightning quick strike to the Sea of Azov, splitting the Russian forces, severing the land bridge, cutting off Russian supply lines, and then going after Crimea. It was going to be within 3 to 5 days, and Russian military in a panic, and the Putin government in a panic, and that was going to be the end of everything there for Russia. Then the narrative from Austin, Milley, and even Macron is that, whoa, wait a minute, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. It's going to take time. This is a big operation. The Russians are well dug in. We were expecting these losses. That's what Milley said. And Austin, we were expecting this outcome. This is no surprise to us. This is going to take time. It's going to go out. It's going to go throughout the whole summer. And keep in mind that this is going to drag on for many months. And even Macron said the same thing. Anyway, so I can finish up. Kaluba, in this interview, he said, no. This is not a sprint. This is not a marathon. What you're actually seeing are a bunch of small counteroffensives, mini counteroffensives. And these mini counteroffensives, over time, is just going to add up to one big counteroffensive, which will then knock out Russia from this conflict. So I just thought I would say that before you get into everything that's going on. Maybe it's relevant to what you want to discuss on the ground. Anyway, that's the foreign minister, Kaluba. More narratives, a lot of different narratives.
It is highly relevant because the fact that they're changing their narratives all the time is the clearest sign that you can possibly get that things are going very, very seriously wrong. Now, every day, we've had more of this morning, Ukraine tries something on the Zaporozhye lines. And, sometimes it advances a little, sometimes it captures the odd village. Nearly always, it's eventually pushed back. It's, in the meantime, taking huge casualties. And we're going to come to that in a moment. And it is not breaking through. I mean, this offensive, which you are absolutely correct. I mean, if you look at what Ukraine tried to do in the first 2 weeks, they were undoubtedly trying to break through with a big single attack. And they failed. I mean, nobody throws away dozens of tanks or hundreds of tanks trying to carry out piecemeal attacks or probing attacks or in marathon battles or anything of that kind. And that hasn't succeeded. Though they can't stop. The political imperatives now of continuing are so strong that they have to continue attacking. And that's what they're doing. So they're attacking in all sorts of different places at different times, trying to find a weak spot. And so far, up to this point, they have completely failed.
Ja, we krijgen het hier van de Duran te horen. En ja, volgens andere bronnen klopt dat ook wel. Ja, het Oekraïense offensief is zelfs gestaakt. En ja, men heeft het over een kleine offensief hier, een kleine offensief daar. Maar ja, er wordt niet echt op het grotere geopolitieke schaakspel wordt er niet echt iets gewonnen door Oekraïne. Dus ja, en de oorlog woekert zich maar voort. En wij willen een einde aan de oorlog. Ja. Ja, als je het daar tegenwoordig over hebt, dan ben je wappie. Ja. Dan word je geclassificeerd als wappie. War is peace tegenwoordig. Ja, laten we maar geen kritiek op Amerika hebben. Hè. Nee. Afghanistan, 20 jaar. Nee. Irak, onder valse voorwaarden aangevallen. Libië aangevallen, Syrië aangevallen. Heeft Nederland ook aan meegedaan. Hè? En ja, we laten elke uitzending toch maar weer zien dat Nederland de jihadisten heeft gesteund in Syrië. De mensen die dus koppen gingen afhakken en zoiets. Het is echt heel erg triest. Nee, dan ben je een wappie als je het daarover hebt. Ja. Dat is dan de gedachtegang. Maar ja, het staat in het AD. Ik lieg er niet om. Hier. Nederland gaf steun aan jihadisten in Syrië. Goh. Dat heeft RHTVLive destijds ook gezegd. Ja, maar toen werden we weer weggezet als complotfantast. Ja. Er werd 3 jaar lang geheim gehouden. En ja, er werd onderzoek gedaan door media. En ja, die zijn toch achter wat dingen gekomen. Hè. Nederland steunde 22 gewapende, gematigde groepen in Syrië. Die kregen geen wapens, maar wel voor ruim 25 miljoen euro aan auto's. Ja, 313 in totaal. Nou vraag ik me af, hè. Is een auto niet per definitie een wapen? Kan als wapen gebruikt worden? Ja, we zagen het in Frankrijk. Er werd gewoon over de boulevard in Nice, ja, Nice was dat, hè. Werd er gewoon gereden en heel veel mensen dood. Dan wel zwaar gewond. Daar hebben we dus 313 auto's aangegeven aan een jihadistenbeweging. Debat al-Shamia. Ja, dat klinkt heel erg humanitair. Ja, we moeten blij zijn. We moeten juist blij zijn. Oh, Rutte, dat heb je toch zo goed gedaan. Ja, dat heb je toch zo goed gedaan. Van ons belastinggeld gewoon een van de groepering steunen die een land omver wil werpen. Ja, dat hebben we zo goed gedaan, Rutte. Dankjewel. Dankjewel. En de mensen die dus daar geweest zijn, die komen dan weer terug naar Nederland toe. Die komen hier zo asiel aanvragen. Oh ja, kom maar. Kom maar. We sluiten niemand uit. Jullie zijn welkom. Jullie zijn welkom in ons land. Ja, je zou zeggen dat ik dat liedje gewoon uit mijn hoofd verzin. Nee, dat is echt zo. Er waren mensen, waar was het? Apeldoorn. Er waren mensen in het AZC, in Apeldoorn. En ja, die gingen dus zingen voor de vluchtelingen. Ja. Dus ik verzin het niet, hè. Ik verzin het echt niet. Hoe heet het, AZC? Van Amerikanen of zo. Even kijken. We proberen het op te zoeken, mensen. Ja, we hebben hier het filmpje gevonden. Ja. En deze mensen die weten dus niet dat wij als Nederland jihadisten steunden in de verleden tijd in Syrië. Nou, vind je het dan vreemd dat men vanuit Syrië naar een veilige haven toe gaat? Nou, ik vind het niet vreemd. Maar goed, het zal weer aan mijn wappiekop liggen. Want je bent wappie als je het hierover hebt. En we laten zo het filmpje zien. Het liedje. Waarin men dus zingt. In het AZC. Jullie zijn welkom. Welkom in ons land. Jullie zijn welkom. Iets met een bootje en weet ik veel. We gaan dit liedje bekijken hier zo. Kijk, deze mensen, die zijn zo ontzettend naïef.
Jij bent welkom, welkom in mijn land. Jij bent welkom, niet zomaar hier gestrand. Ik wil je leren kennen, ik wil weten wie je bent. Vertel me je verhaal, wil begrijpen wat het is om op de vlucht te zijn. Ik zag je in die boot, op het nieuws en in de krant. De angst op jouw gezicht, je dochter in de hand. Zoveel komen om, in je thuisland op de zee. Maar jij hebt het gered, en ik leef nu met je mee. Jij bent welkom, welkom in mijn land. Jij bent welkom, niet zomaar hier gestrand.
Hier zomaar neergestrand. Ja, zomaar neergestrand. Maakt niet uit dat wij dus Debat al-Shamia hebben gesteund 3 jaar lang om Syrië omver te werpen. Nee, dat maakt niet uit. Jij bent een rare complottheorist, ook al staat het bij het Algemeen Dagblad. Ja, dit gebeurt. Dus en deze mensen zijn zo naïef. Die weten niet dat onze overheid die groeperingen heeft gesteund. Kom maar hoor, kom maar. Nee, onze overheid moet daarmee stoppen. Ja. En dus ook stoppen met een bepaalde kant steunen van een oorlog. We moeten neutraal staan in een oorlog. Dat hebben we ook tijdens de Eerste Wereldoorlog gedaan. Stonden we ook neutraal. Ja, en de vijand was voor naast ons hoor. Ja, de centrale machten. Duitsland en Oostenrijk. Oostenrijk, Hongarije. Dus maar deze mensen zijn zo ontzettend naïef. Het zou wel heel erg lieve mensen zijn. Ik denk dat je wel een goed bakje koffie kan drinken met deze mensen. Het zou wel heel erg lieve mensen zijn, maar die zijn zo naïef. Die zien niet wat de overheid andere mensen aandoet in andere landen. Daar is de Nederlander goed in, wegkijken. Ja, maar kom maar naar Nederland toe hoor, kom maar naar Nederland, kom maar. Nee, wij zouden eigenlijk bij elkaar moeten komen, ons moeten uitspreken hiertegen, dat de Nederlandse regering proxy steunt om een ander land omver te werpen. Dit zijn oorlogsmisdaden. Dat wil je toch niet hebben als inwoner van een land zijnde. Of, ja, heel veel mensen hebben zoiets van, boeien. Boeien, boeien. Maakt niet uit, boeien. Nee, het gaat om mensenlevens. Ja. Jullie zijn welkom, welkom in mijn land. We hebben Libië plat gebombardeerd. Sorry daarvoor. Ja, Libië hebben ook aangevallen mensen. Ja, heel veel mensen, het zal het niet eens boeien. Maar we houden het gewoon bij, hè, bij RHTVLive. En ja, we zijn echt geen wappie, zoals sommigen mij durven te omschrijven. Want we houden gewoon het nieuws bij. Ja. Denk je nou dat ik dat verzin? Hè, dat wij Libië hebben aangevallen als Nederland zijnde. Nee, natuurlijk niet. Dacht je het echt? Nou, dan heb je het mooi mis. Ja. Want als we nou het scherm gaan delen. Zo. Je hoeft maar dit in te typen. Nederland stuurt F-16 naar Libië. Nou, Nederland stuurt militairen en F-16's naar Libië. Ja, NATO-acties. Ik dacht dat NATO een defensieve organisatie is. Nee, ze vallen gewoon Libië aan. En de eerste wat ze dus plat bombarderen in Libië is de centrale bank in Libië. Ja. Dat betekent dus dat er geen gelddistributie is in Libië. Het zijn serieuze issues. En het is gewoon triest dat je dan neer wordt gezet als een wappie volgens sommigen. We hebben zojuist geschiedenis aangehaald, de congres van Wenen. Ik denk dat ik dat verzonnen heb. Nee, er zijn dingen gebeurd vooraf. Toen was jij er niet, toen was ik er niet. Maar het staat wel historisch aangegeven in die en die boeken. En noem het allemaal op. Kijk, iemand die wappie is, die gelooft in een spaghetti monster. Nou, of in een platte aarde. Nee, de aarde is rond. Ja, daar kun je helemaal geschiedenis in gaan. Hè. Eratosthenes, ja, een Griekse wiskundige, die heeft de curve van de aarde berekend. Serieus. Dus ik snap er niet dat je dan weg wordt gezet als een rare complotwappie. Ja, het stuit me dan toch tegen de borst aan. Ja, het is de bedoeling dat men wakker wordt. Ja, en men beseft dat de Nederlandse regering toch niet zo heel erg goed is. Ja. Dus Nederland stuurt ook F-16 naar Libië. Dat zie je. Wat heeft Libië ons aangedaan? Leg me dat eens uit. Waarom moeten wij Libië aanvallen als Nederland zijnde? Serieus? Of, ja. Zeg me maar. Het heet toch defensie? Het heet toch niet offensie? Ja. Wat ben je dan aan het verdedigen? Onze zogenaamde democratie? Dat had je niet in Libië hoor. Dat was een socialistisch stelsel. Dus ja, heel veel mensen interesseren het niet. Die hebben zoiets van, er zijn echt mensen die nog niet eens hun eigen land weten aan te wijzen. Serieus. Ja. Maar ja, je hoopt dan toch dat men zich informeert over bepaalde issues. Als ik nou zou zeggen hè, dat de White Star Line 3 majestueuze schepen had, hè, grote schepen, de Olympic, de Titanic en de Britannic. Dan heb ik dat dan verzonnen? Zit dat dan in mijn rare complottershoofd? Want ja, ik was er misschien destijds niet. Maar er zijn dus boeken van. A Night to Remember, noem het allemaal, talloze films en zoiets. Walter Lord. Zo. Die heeft een boek geschreven, A Night to Remember. En ja, zo heb je nog veel meer. Maar ja, tegenwoordig ben je dan een wappie. Ja, je bent gewoon een wappie als je het hierover hebt. Dit is toch gewoon vreemd. Ik laat het gewoon zien. Kijk, ik kan het zo opzoeken. Maar ja. Dan word je wel neergezet als een wappie. Ja. We gaan eens even mezelf opzoeken. Kijken wat er dan gebeurt. Zo hier op. Zo. Ja. LinkedIn. Ja, oké. Kijk. Hier heb je de kneusjes. Ja, gek hierop is ten einde raad. Ten einde raad. Ja. Er wordt er nog aan mij gevraagd van, hè. Hoe zit het nou met democratie? Ja, de Peloponnesische oorlog. Vaak aangehaald, maar het schijnt niet door te dringen. Nee. Dus het is gewoon triest dat je dan neer wordt gezet als dit of dat of serieus. Ik wil gewoon een beter Nederland. Als ik nou zou zeggen dat 30.000 mensen zijn weggezet als fraudeur. Ja. Toeslagenschandaal. Oh ja, dit is ook leuk, hè. Meer volwassen toeslagenkinderen die dood zijn. Ja, plegen zelfmoord. Maar ja, als je het over zulke issues hebt, dan ben je vreemd. Dan ben je raar. Ach, waar maak jij je druk om? Hè? Het zou jouw kind maar zijn. Beetje empathie voor de medemens. En ik weet, Nederland, ja, laten we zeggen dat er niet echt veel rationele mensen meer zijn in Nederland. De rioolput is open. En ja, je wilt dan in discussie gaan met iemand. Ja, je wordt dan nogmaals weggezet, hè, als raar. Hoe kijk je dit naar wappie? Als ik nou zou zeggen dat er een onderzeeër, submersible, onderzeeër Zo. Titanic. Kijk, hier, er is een onderzeeër geïmplodeerd. Hè, en ja, dit is daadwerkelijk gebeurd. Ik kan er niet veel anders van maken. Dat vind ik wel vreemd. Dat je dan helemaal diep in de oceaan gaat, alleen maar om de Titanic te bekijken. Ja, sommige mensen gaan dicht bij een vulkaan staan. Die maken een foto van zichzelf. Kijk, ik sta dicht bij een vulkaan. En dan vreemd vinden als er lava komt. En, ja. Mensen zeggen ook wel van ja, het leven heeft risico's. Ja, dan kies je er toch echt voor. We kunnen ook naar oceanliner designs kijken. Die hebben ook over de onderzeeën. En ja, dan kunnen we gaan kijken naar de blauwdruk van de onderzeeën die geïmplodeerd is. En ja, dan zien we wat achtergrondinformatie. Dus dat laten we dan ook zien. Hoewel we wel bestempeld worden als gek en raar. En, ach ja, boeien. Ik vind het wel ja, niet leuk. Ja, aan de andere kant heb ik zoiets van ja, boeien. Wat zijn nou dingen? Ja? Dan loop je op eieren eigenlijk. Goed. How Titan was built, lost and found an analysis. Ja, Oceanliner Designs, die heeft heel vaak over Lusitania en Titanic en zoiets. Dus die is daar zeer in geïnteresseerd.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your friend Mike Brady from Oceanliner Designs, coming to you from the tail end of what has been a fairly difficult and confronting week for people interested in maritime history and the maritime world as a whole. This week we had two pretty shocking pieces of news. The first was that a vessel off of Greece had capsized, carrying hundreds of people on board, with hundreds of lives lost. The second piece of news was that, of course, the OceanGate submersible vessel Titan had disappeared. It's obviously impossible not to compare the scope and tragedy of the two disasters, and there's been a lot of talk about that on the internet. The purpose of this video is to look at some of the techniques involved in locating the wreck of Titan, and there's been a few more developments actually since I wrote the points for the script of this video. So at certain points I'll be going off script to explain, but I thought you might be interested in some of the techniques and some of the technologies involved in actually locating the wreck, because this week there's been a lot of words being thrown around: sonar, radar, sono buoys, you know, that kind of thing. So I thought I'd explain some of it for you and just look at the technical aspects. We're not going to be going into a lot of conjecture because, as always, the internet has been full of conjecture and misinformation. Of course, the submersible was lost with 5 people on board, including somebody who was a personal hero of mine and many within the Oceanliner community. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, PH as he was known, a giant in his field and just an absolute legend. So yeah, it's been pretty tough, and I don't think the Oceanliner and Titanic community is particularly big, so it feels a little bit like we've lost some family here, and yeah, I think we're all very sad. I avoided making this or any video for about a week or so as the events have unfolded, but I feel like now I've got some more input and can speak to some of the more technical parts of the situation, which is more in the character of the channel. So I'm going to split this video up into a couple of parts. First, I'll explain why companies like OceanGate even dived to the Titanic in the first place. Then we'll look at the submersible Titan itself and how it was built. And then finally, the techniques that have been used and the immense challenges inherent in the epic search for the submarine. So first of all, why do we dive the wreck of the Titanic? Why do we continue to do so? Titanic's wreck was found back in 1985 by Dr. Robert Ballard and his team. She's resting almost 4 kilometers down. That's something like 12,500 feet in absolutely crushing depth. And since then, there have been dozens of dives out to the wreck of Titanic in all different kinds of submersibles, the most famous probably being Alvin, owned by the US Navy and operated by Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. It's been in service since 1964. Alvin's got 5,000 dives under its belt, and it's still in service.
Dankzij Ballard weten we dus dat de Titanic in tweeën was gesplitst toen die was gezonken. Ja, want je ziet de boeg, de voorkant van het schip, zie je dan in sediment begraven eigenlijk. En de achterkant is helemaal ontploft, of geïmplodeerd eigenlijk, maar het ziet er ontploft uit. Alles door elkaar heen en zoiets. Dus ja, dat de techniek wel niet verstaat. Hè. En toen hadden ze zo'n onderzeetje gebruikt. Ja, 2 mensen konden erin.
Service today. The 2 Mir submarines, James Cameron used those quite extensively. You've seen them. If you've watched the movie Titanic, you've seen those. Tried and true, brilliant craft. Just recently laid up, but could probably still work just fine. You know, just a month ago, we made a video on this channel about the really exciting things that were being done by Magellan and Atlantic Productions in scanning the Titanic wreck and taking photographs of it and turning that into a photogrammetry model. So there's still clearly a lot of interest in the Titanic, and I feel like a lot of this is being mischaracterized as some kind of just millionaire's folly, that they're just running tour, you know, they call it the tourist submarine experience, which is just not true. OceanGate is a legitimate scientific research organization. It's privately funded. The CEO was Mr. Stockton Rush, who is in the casualty list, who was lost in the submersible. The primary stated goal of OceanGate is to examine the Titanic for 2 reasons, predominantly for science. So the Titanic wreck is interesting because it rests on the sea floor in what is essentially an underwater desert. It's not flat. There are mountains about as tall as those that we have on the surface here, like Mount Everest, for example. There are basins. Titanic itself rests in kind of like a valley between all these big mountainous ranges underwater. But because it's so deep, there's not a wide variety of life all over the place like you'd see on a coral reef, for example. There's sparse pieces here and there. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. The Titanic, by sheer nature of it being so big, has now turned into something like a bit of an oasis, you know, in this desert. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of species of not only animals like, you know, rat-tail fish and things like that, but also microbes that were previously unknown to science. And they actually named one after Titanic. It was discovered as late as 2010, and it was called Halomonas titanicae. So we're still learning things about our planet. And the whole point of OceanGate was to...
Er worden ook wel rusticles genoemd. Hè? Het zijn organismes die leven van het metaal van de Titanic. Ja. Maar goed, we spoelen even verder over de Titan. Zo.
So let's talk about the submersible Titan. Why is it not a submarine? This is a semantic thing, but a submersible is a vehicle that can submerge, but is predominantly reliant on exterior support. So in the case of Titan, she was not tethered to the mothership, but relied on navigational inputs and things like that. A submarine is almost a completely self-independent vehicle that wouldn't need exterior support to operate or function correctly. So that's the difference between the two, and that's why Titan is more correctly referred to as a submersible, but of course the terms are being used interchangeably, so I'm not a pedant about using the right terms. So if I alternate between submersible and submarine, please forgive me. The guiding philosophy around Titan's design and construction was simplicity. We've seen the news make a huge deal out of the fact that a simple games controller, a Logitech Bluetooth controller, was used to control the submarine. This doesn't smack of last-minute unpreparedness or cheapness. This is almost kind of becoming standard practice. The US Navy, for example, the submarine USS Colorado, has employed almost identical controllers for operating the sub's weapons, some of the weapon systems, to operate the photonic masts, which essentially replace the periscope in a submarine. So it's easy, it's intuitive, and it's simple, and it is tried and true. You know, these are OEM parts. They are off the shelf, but they're off the shelf because they are tried and true, and you can use them. Now, how was Titan built, and what made it unique? Well, recently, many experts have come forward claiming that they were concerned about the way the submersible was designed and constructed. So let's look at why and how Titan was a departure from traditional deep-sea submersible design. First, I need to introduce you to Alvin. Alvin is a research deep-sea submersible first introduced in 1964 with around 5,000 dives under its belt, and it's still in service today. Most deep-sea submersibles follow Alvin's pattern of design. At its core, if you strip away all the surface-level exterior stuff, the submersible is built around this crew compartment called the pressure vessel. Everything outside of this compartment is simply equipment which by themselves don't need protection from the crushing water pressure at depth, but everything inside the pressure vessel must be protected, including the crew. So the pressure vessel has to be able to stand up to the insane conditions. In the case of the Titanic wreck site, the pressure is about 400 times that on the surface, or the equivalent of 6,000 pounds per square inch, or 3 tons of pressure per square inch. To survive this kind of insane force, the Alvin's pressure vessel is a special shape. It's a sphere, a ball, made out of titanium, which is itself an immensely strong metal, with a wall thickness of about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. This is important, so I'm going to keep it here on screen. The pressure vessel can fit 3 crew and their equipment. But why is the pressure vessel in the shape of a ball? Well, a sphere is extremely good at uniformly distributing the pressures of deep water. Being perfectly round, there are virtually no weak spots where pressures can focus and build up. The entire structure reinforces itself. Now let's look at Titan. Beneath the superficial paneling on the outside, the submersible was also built around a pressure vessel. But this one was not in the shape of a ball, but a cylinder. Why the departure from tried and true engineering? Well, this could be linked to OceanGate's business model, taking civilian backers as mission crew to help fund the research. For this, Titan would simply need to carry more people. You could try and cram 5 into a sphere, but you'd need to make it larger than Alvin's pressure vessel. The bigger the sphere gets, the weaker it is, so then the walls would need to be made thicker, but then you've added a lot of extra weight. Remember, the sub still needs to be able to power itself along underwater and even be plucked from the ocean at the end of the mission, so it can't be too heavy. Instead, Titan would employ a long cylindrical pressure vessel that could fit 5, which was 2 more people than Alvin. So how do you make a cylinder able to withstand the pressures of the ocean? Well, OceanGate decided to use carbon fiber to create the cylindrical pressure vessel. And this is an actual video of them making the pressure vessel. This was a wound carbon fiber hull where they literally wound strands of carbon fiber over a cylinder until the desired wall thickness was achieved. That wall thickness? A whopping 12.7 centimeters or 7 inches. This is a huge jump on Alvin's 2 inches because the cylindrical pressure vessel was much bigger and its shape was possibly not as adept at evenly distributing the compressive forces at depth, so the walls simply had to be thicker. So now you have a carbon fiber tube that needs to be made watertight. So the carbon fiber was capped at either end with titanium rings, which would be used to then attach the hemisphere end pieces, which were also very heavily reinforced, made out of titanium. After the carbon fiber pressure vessel was formed, the titanium rings were bonded to it at either end. So the exact method of bonding is a mystery to me, but articles online from when this was done in 2017 focus on tight engineering tolerances and a...
Kijk, als ik het hierover zou hebben, hoe de Titan gemaakt is, de blauwdruk daarvan, dan word ik aangezien als wappie. Ja. Nee joh, dat hebben we zo en zo gemaakt, bla 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 bla. Maar hier heb je dus iemand, Oceanliner Designs. Zijn specialisatie is dus schepen en onderzeeërs en zoiets. Dus ja, je hebt zo net het woord gevoerd. En ik laat het alleen maar zien. Zo, kijk. Hier. Maar ja, wie is er dan wappie? Is hij wappie omdat hij het zo haarfijn uitlegt? Met de carbon fiber buitenkant en zoiets. Ja. Ja. Het blijft toch weer zo'n struikelwoord, wappie. Kijk, dat onderscheidt dus mensen van elkaar. Mensen zijn niet zo heel erg verschillend. Misschien wel qua opvatting, maar ja, in mijn optiek zijn mensen niet zo heel verschillend. We gaan even hier naar kijken. Dave Paulides halen we weer even naar voren. De verniste mensen, dat hebben we al een hele tijd niet gedaan. Dus Dave Paulides is dus een oud politieagent, ook Bigfoot researcher. Je kijkt naar de Sasquatch, mythologische dieren. En het schijnt te bestaan. Ik heb er geentje gezien, maar ja, daar doet hij dus onderzoek naar. En ook naar verdwenen mensen in Amerika en Canada. In nationale parken. En ja, we gaan even hier naar kijken.
Right now in northern Montana, 78 degrees, no wind. I just came back in from a trip. Glad to be back home. Can't say much about it right now other than I'm getting to the point where I really don't like leaving this place. I feel very safe here, serene, miss Huck, but I am back. And I got back to something.
Oh ja, die heeft ook films gemaakt. Missing 411. Dit is dan het derde deel, de UFO Connection. Ja, dus erg interessant om dat te gaan bekijken. Meestal gaat hij brieven voorlezen eerst. En we gaan toch eens even kijken wanneer de eerste zaak begint. Zo. Even vooruitspoelen. Sorry Dave.
Crimes close to where they live. What if these culprits, what if they were UFOs, USOs? And they didn't want to bring attention to themselves where they stayed a majority of the time. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. I can find no other reason why these states don't have huge numbers of missing people. I don't get it, unless it's the water element. Well, it's been a year. Foy hasn't been found. His clothing hasn't been found. And we've gone through one hunting cycle already where people would have been in the woods. Should have found him if he was there. I don't understand why he wasn't found. But if you live in that area of Mississippi, keep your eyes and ears open. Maybe carry around a picture of Foy Davis. You can find it online, easily found. I feel very sorry for his son and his wife. And then you may say, well, Dave, it's just a dementia person. So what? It's a person. He was loved. People cared about him. And it's intriguing to me to the why these dementia-related cases, Alzheimer-related cases, are not found. And if they are found, it's months later in an area that had been previously searched many times. I don't get it. Unless somebody is studying them for some reason. Now, I don't give case updates much because there aren't many case updates to give. But I did do a case in January of this year on a pretty famous actor named Julian Sands. It's right here online. It's part of the 500 plus cases that we have on our system that I've done. Now, Julian is probably considered one of the world's optimum climbers. Super good shape, hiked advanced many times. He went hiking on Mount Baldy up above Los Angeles. There was a massive search effort. Massive. Went on for more than a week. Well, the update is that on June 17th, earlier this month, the sheriff's office got 80 volunteers and deputies together to go back up onto Mount Baldy and look for Julian. Now, his brother made a statement. His brother Nick, made a statement that was interesting. He said, well, they haven't allocated or stated that he's missing and presumed deceased yet. And then his brother said, I know he's gone, but they haven't given him that moniker yet.
Ja, zo zie je maar weer. Hè. Iemand verdwijnt en ja, de broer die weet van niks. Ja. Wat is er met die meneer gebeurd? Deze meneer hier zo. Wat is hiermee gebeurd? Ja. We weten het nog steeds niet. Ja. Dus ja. De autoriteiten weten het niet, of die weten het wel. Ja, die verbergen dan iets. Maar het gaat toch om een mensenleven. Dus ja, dit gebeurt allemaal in deze wereld. En wat kun je hier nog op zeggen? Nogmaals, dat hele wappie gebeuren. Ja, ik vind het geen stijl hebben, weet je. Iemand uitscheldt voor wappie, terwijl je die niet eens kent. En zoiets allemaal. Het is, ja. Het toont geen klasse, weet je. Je gaat me niet uitschelden voor wappie. Ja, als ik dan gewoon geschiedkundige dingen laat zien. Gewoon, we hebben al heel veel langs laten komen. Maar ja, goed, nog steeds word je dan aangezien als wappie. Ja. Ook al laat je de beelden zien, en ook al probeer je dan uit te leggen. Kijk, en er komt de zomerreces, die komt zo bij de politieke kringen. En dan gaan ze op vakantie en dan hoor je niks van Rutte, een tijdje lang. En al die andere mensen die dan ons land dienen te dienen. Ja, daar hoor je er niks meer van. Landbouwakkoord is niet eens een akkoord, ook uitgelegd. Ja, het is een akkoord tussen de partijen. En niet tussen de regering en de boeren. Ja, daar moest nog over onderhandeld worden. Hè? Met die ene gast, hoe heet hij ook weer? Remkes. Ja. Dus ja, ik ben echt niet wappie hoor. Ja, sommige mensen zien het toch echt wel zo. Ja, hier. Kijk, en dat stoort wel. Weet je, want als je mij opzoekt, we hebben het zo net gedaan. En je gaat een beetje scrollen, ja, dan kom je meteen bij de kneusjessite uit. Hè. Ja. Ik denk van ja, wat drijft hun nou om mij gewoon neer te zetten als een wappie? Ik laat de beelden zien. Ja. Kijk, eigenlijk moet je dat ook niet veel van aantrekken. Maar toch, het is een struikelblok, hè. Het verdeelt de mensen. Ja. Dat is niet de bedoeling. We moeten als mensheid samenwerken. Ja. Ondanks de ideologische verschillen die we hebben. Ja, gewoon uitleggen wat er nou allemaal gebeurt. Ik heb dat ene filmpje laten zien. Hè? Jullie zijn welkom. Waarom denken we dat gebeurt? Dat komt omdat wij de jihadisten steunen. Ja. Nou, zo moeilijk is het niet. Maar mensen in Nederland moeten moed in zichzelf vinden. Want je neemt het op tegen de staat. Ik ben echt geen extremist. Wil ik niet zo neergezet worden. Ik heb niks gedaan. Ik heb alleen maar wat geschiedenisles gegeven. Is dat dan zo verkeerd? Ja, ideologieën. Allerlei mensen die je niet eens kent, nooit gezien hebt. Waarschijnlijk ook nooit zal zien. Het is misschien naïef om te zeggen van, we zijn strijdbaar. We gaan er strijdbaar tegenin. Er zijn mensen die het allemaal goed keuren. Die vinden het allemaal goed. En dan denk ik van, dat kan toch niet waar zijn? Dat kan toch niet waar zijn? Behandel zoals je een ander behandelen wil, toch? Ja. Maar ja, goed, dat gebeurt er niet. Hè. Nee, je wordt in een verdomhoekje gezet. Dat zijn nou issues waar wat we weer op tafel hebben gelegd, waar we eigenlijk over kunnen discussiëren. Want wat maakt iemand een wappie? Als ik nou zou zeggen dat de Hindenburg Zeppelin in de fik vloog. Nou, denk ik dat ik verzonnen heb. Denk ik dat ik echt verzonnen heb. Ik heb het al eerder laten zien. De Hindenburg ramp. Ja, en dit is daadwerkelijk gebeurd. Dan kun je niet zeggen, je bent een wappie. Nee, je bent een wappie als je dit ontkent. Er zijn beelden van. Dit is ook een van de eerste beelden dat een ramp gefilmd heeft. Zeg maar. Dus ik lieg er niet om. Ik lieg er niet om. Maar je wordt er wel weggezet als raar. Ik denk van, Maar ik zei toch, Olympic, Titanic en Britannic. Olympic, Titanic, Britannic, daar. 3 schepen. We weten dus dat Britannic ingenomen werd door de Engelse regering. Dat werd een hospitaalschip die op de Mediterraanse Zee ging varen. En die kwam een mijn onderweg tegen bij de kust van een van de eilanden bij Griekenland. Dus ik lieg er niet om. En ook Olympic werd gebruikt als een oorlogsschip om dus mensen te vervoeren. Dus ja, denk ik dit verzin. Nee, dat verzin ik echt niet. En zo heb je ook iemand die gewerkt heeft op de Olympic, de Titanic en ook nog de Britannic. Ja. Violet Jessop. Ja. Violet Jessop. Violet. Daar, zo, ze luisteren mee, hè. The incredible true story of the Queen sinking ships. Violet Jessop. Even kijken. Nee, deze is leuker. We gaan dit eens even bekijken hier zo.
I was on Titanic and her 2 sister ships.
All 3?
It all started when I was a girl of 17. My mother was ill.
So I decided, as money was urgently needed, to try myself for a position as a stewardess on a ship. The meeting seemed to go well until he says I was far too young and attractive. So, I give him my word that I would be most circumspect and careful if he could just see his way to give me the post.
I had a great many journeys at sea, and one in particular, the Olympic, Titanic's sister ship.
The largest and finest to fly the British flag. Oh, I used to get a fresh thrill every time I walked through Olympic's beautiful staterooms, with all their exquisite woodwork and their sumptuous silk furnishings.
I spent a year on that wonderful ship. I even got a marriage proposal from one of the passengers. But later in the year, the Olympic collided with another ship, the HMS Hawk.
Was that your first crash?
Yes, and I hoped it would be my last. But it was only a year before I joined the crew of the Titanic. This second ship was decidedly
grander and improved in every way. There was private decks for the best suites, and oh, you should see the lace bedspreads. Truly beautiful.
But it was on the Sunday night. It was oh so quiet, and oh so calm, when crash!
We'd been told it on our life jackets. I felt quite chilly with mine on, so I went down to get something to cover my shoulders. You know, it was strange to see all the rooms lit up so brilliantly. Their doors open and their contents lying all around in a mess. I mean, jewels were sparkling on dressing room tables. And before I could do anything, a young mason hailed me. "Look after this, will you?" And he threw a young babe into my arms.
It was 1916 when I had my next misadventure. I was working as a nurse for the Red Cross when we were hit.
We struck a mine. We got into the lifeboats, but the huge propellers were churning and mincing everything around them like men in boats, and my boat was getting nearer and nearer, so I jumped. I couldn't breathe. And there was this terrific crash above me, and something hit me in the back of the head, and all I could feel was this whirling and choking ache, and all of a sudden, I rose to the light of day, and I could breathe.
All the deck machinery fell into the sea like a child's toys. And then she made a fearful plunge and disappeared into the depths.
But you survived.
Yes, I did. For a third time.
You will always be remembered, Miss Jessup, for the things you've done. And hello, lead guitar man. Nice to see you here. So, over here in the Netherlands, we have a derogative word called woppie. You know, it's someone who's a bit crazy and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm trying to define that word, because when are you exactly crazy? Can you tell me that? Because if I talk about the Congress of Vienna or other stuff that happened in history, you're still put under that category. You're crazy. You're a wuppie. Yeah. Why do we always have to divide ourselves? Maybe lead guitar man can answer me that. Waarom moeten we altijd verdelen? Considering the current state of things, crazy for everyone at the moment should be fitting, would be fitting. Yeah, but you know, things have happened in history. They're like solid in history, right? I mean, Trump was president. You also had Reagan as a president. Those things have solidified in history. And if you talk about that, certain aspects, you know, like Bush invading Iraq or Reagan with the Contras in Nicaragua and stuff, you know, you're still deemed a conspiracy theorist. Well, this really happened. This really happened. You know, I don't understand this. Why do people need to divide each other? And really weird. Oh well, then call me a wuppie. I don't care. But what irritates me is that word is a division word. You know, it divides people. Welcome to the world of government propaganda. Yeah, it's like 1984 on steroids, right? Always a war to be waged over there or over there or there, you know. Really, really weird. Conspiracy truther. Yeah, that is a better definition, you know. Because if I say, right, that, say for instance, the assassination of Kennedy, there was someone, E. Howard Hunt, who was there at the big event, as it's called. He had a deathbed confession, right? You know, it's on YouTube. Deathbed confession. E. Howard Hunt. There you go. Deathbed confession of E. Howard Hunt. Now let's take a look at this here. Now we know that E. Howard Hunt operated within the CIA back then, right? So we're going to take a look at this here. All right.
hear it, and thank you, St. John Hunt, for all of that background so far.
Sure.
Here you go, the first national airing of the testimony of E. Howard Hunt from January of 2004 about the JFK assassination on Coast to Coast Live.
I heard from Frank that LBJ had designated Cord Meyer Jr. to undertake a larger organization while keeping it totally secret. Cord Meyer himself was a rather favored member of the Eastern aristocracy. He was a graduate of Yale University and had joined the Marine Corps during the war and lost an eye in the Pacific fighting. I think that LBJ settled on Meyer as an opportunist, Perrin like himself, Perrin, and a man who had very little left to him in life ever since JFK had taken Cord's wife as one of his mistresses. I would suggest that Cord Meyer welcomed the approach from LBJ, who was, after all, only the vice president at that time, and of course could not number Cord Meyer among JFK's admirers. Quite the contrary. As for Dave Phillips, I knew him pretty well at one time. He worked for me during the Guatemala project. He had made himself useful to the agency in Santiago, Chile, where he was an American businessman. In any case, his actions, whatever they were, came to the attention of the Santiago station chief, and when his resume became known to people in the Western Hemisphere Division, he was brought in to work on Guatemalan operations. Sturgis and Morales and people of that ilk stayed in apartment houses during the preparations for the big event.
The big event meaning the assassination of JFK, you know? And people are still in the mindset that the Warren Commission, even though 3 of the 6 members of the Warren Commission had said we had given out, answered too early, you know. Yeah, it's weird, really, really weird. And, people are still in the mindset of government does not do anything wrong, you know. If you think otherwise, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm not. I'm not one of the lunatic fringe, right? I know what's going on. I know what's going on. And I don't know all the details, but I do know that we are being led by ruthless people, like our so-called friend Zbigniew Brzezinski. Yep. We also know Mika Brzezinski, the daughter of Zbigniew, who is in the mainstream media. He's got, a lot to say about Afghanistan, and all the policies are because of Zbigniew Brzezinski, basically. Right? So, there we have him. He is dead, but as I've said before, no army can stop an idea whose time has come. Right? Now this worm, he slid into politics and supported the Mujahideen, and basically radical Islam, which became an enemy of the United States. That is the attack of 9/11, which is also a cover-up, right? We know how the game works. We know. And Zbigniew Brzezinski had said something about controlling people and killing people. It's easier to let's see if we can find that video clip. Here it is.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
So he's talking about the politically awake masses, right? And it's harder to control those masses. We're getting smarter. We know what's going on. We know about the shadowy organizations, Bilderberg, the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, World Economic Forum. We know what's going on. We know what's going on. They want to make the North American Union, right? Conglomeration of Canada, the US, and Mexico. Centralized power in Washington, D.C. for those three countries, such as the European Union. We know what's going on. But we have to do something about it. Now, you may say that I'm, cuckoo, crazy. Nope. But I'm not. I'm really not. So I'll show you the North American Union. It's still a theory, right? But there we go. The North American Union. Now let's see what Wikipedia says. You see? The North American Union is a theoretical, economic, and political continental union of Canada, Mexico, and the United States, the three largest and most populous countries in North America. So we talked about this before in Dutch, but they're also trying to make a South American Union, right? Lula had a meeting with Maduro from Venezuela and other countries within South America. So they're making unions all over the world, right? They also want to make 3 in Africa, the North African Union, Central African Union, and the South African Union. It's also the same for Asia, right? North Asia, Central Asia, and also South Asia. And most countries have said, okay, that's cool, And the only country that had said, nope, we're not going to do that is, which country would that be? Which country would that be? Welk land doet niet mee met de globale Unie? Welk land doet niet mee met de globale Unie? Which country does not want a global union? I think it's the USSR, or the ex-USSR, now known as the Russian Federation, right? Now this is why Russia is being demonized. Very, very sad to see, And if we look further on the geopolitical scale, we see that the intervention in Libya, for example, which the Netherlands also, did. We also participated with that. The intervention in Libya, Russia said no in the United Nations Council, right? No, don't attack Libya. Well, they did. 10 years of civil war, right? 3 governments within one country, all fighting each other. And now it's a bit stabilized. So, very sad to see. Very, very sad to see. This is also why they want to make a North African Union. If you look at other countries, such as Burkina Faso, there were 5 coups over there, 5 military coups, right? Now you may wonder, how is that possible? It's basically, there are sub-military groups, right? Such as what's happening in Sudan, the Rapid Special Forces is fighting against the army, which is a branch, such as Wagner, right, in Russia, a branch of mercenaries and stuff. And that's what's happening in Burkina Faso. All these mercenaries are taken over. 5 times a military coup over there, And there's also a very big refugee crisis going on because of all these countries being destabilized, right? We let the proxies loose on Libya, and they're taking over other countries. And our prime minister went to Tunisia to fight against the refugee streams coming to Europe, But he was in the wrong country, because now a lot of people are fleeing from Tripoli into the Mediterranean Sea. So this is happening. I'm not making this up. I just want a better world. You know, I just want a better world. I don't want people in poverty, you know. Oh well, this is what's happening. Very, very sad to see. I thought the world would be a better place, but nope, we're still fighting over petty issues, right? Very sad to see, but this is what's happening in the world. And we can look the other way and say, oh, there's nothing going on. But we don't do that here at our RHTVLive. We doen we hier niet bij RHTVLive. We laten gewoon zien wat er allemaal gaande is in de wereld. Maar volgens mij ben ik wel lang genoeg live. Ja? Even kijken wat onze vriend Lead Guitar Man. Yeah, they actually had a Camaro ready to go. But it fell apart when people told them to KMA. Yeah, exactly. You know? Consolidation of power is what you're trying to do. Exactly. That never works. History is full of it, right? We have Napoleon consolidating all these countries. He fell, right? But oh well, people do not learn. And I do learn, but when I talk about such issues that I'm criminalized, I'm, you know, framed as a whoppie. Yep. He's crazy. Don't listen to him. Very, very sad, you know. I thought the world would be a better place. But I don't know, maybe I'm too idealistic. Maybe. I want a government that works for the people. You know. Maybe a smaller government. That would be better. Because it's the size of government which lets corruption explode. You know, all these budgets, military budgets and all that, it's like, whoa, dude. Whatever happened to the so many trillion lost at the Pentagon, right? Whatever happened to that? You guys do remember that, right? You had Rumsfeld, and he was saying the Pentagon has lost lots of money, and we need to look for the money. And I never heard anything after that, you know, because, of course, you had the Afghanistan war and the Iraq war and all these foreign wars, these distractions, right? We do not need distractions. I don't know how much money it was, but it was a very big amount. And you'd say, you know, you would not lose that amount of money, 2.3 trillion. Whatever happened to the money? We're going to take a look at this here. Maybe this is like a whitewash clip. I don't know. First, we're going to look at Rumsfeld explaining that lots of money is lost. And this was on September 10th, 2001.
Number one, Bush administration.
Well, I don't know if it's true. If it proves to be true that large gatherings of these folks actually can be located, and it actually happens and can be located, you can be sure there'll be people interested in that.
And I just wondered, do you feel the United States is winning the war on terrorism? And
I think on the issue of massing along the border, the Secretary pretty much covered that. We know that's where that's where a lot of the Al-Qaeda fled, some of the Taliban probably for that matter.
This was the wrong clip. Maybe specify some more. September 10, 2001. There we go. That takes too long, right? 12 minutes. Who cares? We're going to take a look at this here.
Just what's going on with the culture. How in the world could it be that the biggest, greatest fighting entity in the world cannot audit itself until 2018? What's wrong? The fact is we probably wasted hundreds of billions of dollars at the Pentagon through the years through poor management. Is that correct? Well, that'd be a low estimate, would it not?
So how can we possibly cut spending and make government more efficient if we don't even know where the money is going?
In 2001, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld announced that the Department of Defense had lost more than $2.3 trillion.
Tracked $2.3 trillion in transactions.
At this time, the entire federal budget was only $1.8 trillion, which meant that the military had basically just oopsied away more than a year's worth of the government's entire bankroll.
Look at all this cash, bruh. What would you call it?
The public was furious, to say the least, and rumors quickly started circling about where this money ended up. Fortunately for Rumsfeld and the entire military senior brass, the public announcement of the missing money was made on a very opportune day, September 10th.
Move! Move! Clear! Move!
Yes, just one day later, what would have been the news story of the year.
We will not forget, right? We know where Al-Qaeda stems from. The Mujahideen. As I've said before, right? Zbigniew Brzezinski made the Mujahideen to fend off the Russians in Afghanistan, right? So the Mujahideen broke up, split apart, right? And you had three factions. You had the Taliban, who's now taken over power again. You had the Northern Alliance, and you also had a very small faction called Al-Qaeda, right? And this is a true story, you know, as far as we can piece it together. So we know that the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia, and I believe one came from Egypt or Libya, one of those two countries. But why wasn't Saudi Arabia attacked, right? No, we know why. We know why. But do other people know? I don't know. We weten wel waarom Irak werd aangevallen. Irak was eerst een bondgenoot van Amerika toen ze Iran gingen aanvallen. So Iraq was an ally when they attacked Iran. You know, was supported a lot of money and stuff like that. You know, we know why. We know what's going on in the world. We know about the carving of the Middle East. We know about that, right? The Sykes-Picot Agreement. Now, you may say, I'm crazy, you know, don't listen to that guy, he's wacko. Nope. I'm going to show you guys, right? The Sykes-Picot Agreement, a small video of that. Now, what is the Sykes-Picot Agreement? That is the separation of the Ottoman Empire, carving up the Ottoman Empire. So we're going to take a look at this here. This really happened. Dit is echt gebeurd. Ik ben geen wappie. Dat zijn serieuze issues. Serious issues.
Constantinople and also eastern Anatolia, and the Treaty of London signed in the same year gave Italy this land to the south. Yet the most important agreement, because it was the only one that actually came close to being implemented, was the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. Now, during the war, the Ottomans were beset on all sides. There were, of course, the British and the French fighting them across the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. There were also the Russians to the north, the Greeks to the west, and in the south they faced the Arab revolt and calls for the creation of a Jewish state. It won't surprise you that not everyone could get what they wanted from the collapse of the Ottomans, and so Britain came up with a cunning plan to keep everyone on board. They lied. In early 1916, Britain offered the Sharif of Mecca, Hussein bin Ali, an empire of his own if he assisted the Entente against the Ottomans. He would be given all of this land to be known as the Kingdom of Arabia, which would be free of European interference, which of course he was happy to agree to, and so began the Arab Revolt. Yet, whilst Hussein was fighting this revolt, the British and French were negotiating what would actually be done with the land. These negotiations saw Sir Mark Sykes on the British side and Georges Picot on the French one determining who would get what. France had previously spent a lot of money in these lands and so was expecting a return for its investments. Now, Britain did tell the French that they had offered these lands to the Arabs, but France refused to relinquish its claims, though, seeing it as unfair that Britain would receive lands in Arabia whilst France would not. In the end, after many months of negotiation, Sykes and Picot came to an agreement, which was inventively named the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and it divided up the Ottoman lands as such. Hussein would get his Kingdom of Arabia, but it would be much smaller than the one promised. He also wouldn't be told about this change until after the war, because otherwise he might stop fighting and that wouldn't do. Britain would gain a brand new colony, Lower Mesopotamia, centred on Basra, and would gain a puppet state here in northern Arabia, centred in Kirkuk. The French would gain a directly ruled colony here and a puppet state centred on Mosul. France had pushed hard to gain Mosul because of that sweet, sweet oil, and Britain granted it solely on the condition that France also take all of this territory too. Why? Well, because Britain had agreed to Russia gaining eastern Anatolia, and given that the two were rivals in Asia, Britain didn't want to share a border with them. It was also agreed that Palestine would become an internationally run protectorate. So, after the Ottomans were defeated, how much of this agreement was actually implemented? Well, not much. When the Russian Empire dropped out of the war and
Wait a minute, what? Did I hear something called Palestine? Now, I know a lot of people don't want to, concur to that. Now it's known as Israel. But during the Sykes-Picot Agreement, it was a protectorate of both countries. And it's called Palestine.
Why? Well, because Britain had agreed to Russia gaining eastern Anatolia, and given that the two were rivals in Asia, Britain didn't want to share a border with them. It was also agreed that Palestine would become an internationally run protectorate. So,
there you have it. Right? Now, let's see what's happening in Palestine right now. Let's see. West Bank, Palestine. Israeli settlers attacked Palestinian towns in West Bank 4 days ago. They also attacked Jenin, right? There we have it, Jenin, a refugee camp for the Palestinians. Very, very sad thing to see here. And, you know, I'm not choosing sides, I'm just showing another side, right? These people have to live in a concentration camp, basically, facial recognition cameras everywhere. And, you know, every day they're searched, their bags and whatever are searched by the IDF, Israeli Defense Force. There is someone else online talking about it called Richard Methurst. He also has very interesting videos of the raid in Jenin and stuff like that. Very interesting. We're landing in Palestine. There was someone from Ryanair saying that they landed in Palestine whilst they landed in Tel Aviv, which is now occupied Israel. So, and you know, I am for a two-state solution, but very very hard to get to that point, you know. Even kijken hoe lang we aan het draaien zijn. Want we kunnen gewoon doorgaan, hè. Bijna 3 uur. We're almost 3 hours into the live. So we've shown a lot. You know, Dave Politis, missing people from national parks and stuff like that. We also showed the Congress of Vienna, you know. But still, people say, you're a nutcase. You bent een wappie. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just showing what other people say. Right? Giving some geopolitics here. So, and there aren't many people who do that, who give geopolitics. Most people know lots more about, like, the Lost World and, you know, movies than they know about what really happened in history. Now, they say history is written by the conquerors, you know, so, but still. But we also show that, the Decembrists, we know what's going on. We know what's going on. This is also cool, Injustice. You really have to be a comic nerd to appreciate that. So we also showed you Putin reacting to Wagner and lots more. Let's see, first time watching Batman Forever. Am I that old? I saw that in the cinema, Batman Forever. Am I that old? Time really flies when you're having fun. Top 100 characters from Amalgam Universe. Yeah, for those who don't know, basically you have two comic publications, two big ones. There are more, but two big public, you know, publications, Marvel and DC. And in one of those comics, you have an amalgamation. These characters, two become one. So a split universe and stuff. Pretty interesting. But you really have to be a comic nerd to appreciate that. So we also talked about the submersible during the broadcast. So which is the best Jurassic Park? Yeah, I think it's the first one. I've seen all 6 of them, but still the first one is the better one. I also like Star Wars. It's also pretty cool. And Star Trek. So this is also a channel to watch, Lionel Nation, right? Let's see what else we got here. Tim Burton should have directed Batman 3. That would have been better. Oh well. Churchill's biggest rival. Let's see what else we got here. Ghostbusters 2 is awful. No, it's not. Well, the remake, that's awful. Oh well. The Goonies, good movie. Let's see. I'm enraged. Let's see what this guy is going to say.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Got a lot of boards, going to try to get through them as fast as possible, and I wish there was some way you could set off an alarm if I start speaking too fast, because I always feel guilty when I do that, but I, once again, have had far too much caffeine. I actually want to walk through a couple things. I meant today to be a day where I was going to come with things that were happy and hopeful and look at these great disruptions and we can crash the price of healthcare. But I'm going to have some of that. But once again, I think I need to actually reset some of the math. So we're going to walk through a few of these. Just because I'm just sort of enraged when I hear the White House put out materials, my brothers and sisters on the left put out materials, talk about this wonderful economy, the Biden economy, the Biden economics. So let's actually deal with some real life math. Amortized change in real disposable personal income per capita. If under President Trump, it was amazing. It went up 5.1%. Under President Obama, it went up 1.2%. But under President Biden so far, and this is annualized per capita, your income, if you're an average American, is down 4.5%. You are.
There you go. Yep. Thank you, Biden. Thank you for your LGBTQ economics. Right? Thank you. Thank you. We are living in the brave new world. Yep. And our friend, lead guitar man, had said, look at all those empty seats, right? Very sad. These people are supposed to work for you, right? Not for themselves, not enrich themselves, no, enrich the population. That is supposed to be the function of government, right? They work for you. ze werken voor jou. Niet wij voor hun. Nee, zo werkt het niet. Doesn't work that way. We don't work for them. No, they work for us. Right? And let's see what an American says about the current president. Biden is the best president in history. Just ask him. Sarcasm. Yeah, I think Biden forgot the question, you know. So he pooped his pants. Oops. No, but seriously, you know, you have to get rid of this guy. He's an embarrassment for the American nation, you know. And I wish those leaders would follow the constitutional forefathers like George Washington and Adams and Jefferson, you know. No foreign entanglements. That is not what we need, right? America is not an empire. It's a republic. And it should be a republic. But it's not anymore. It's Pax Americana. Yep. And you may wonder what that is. There was Pax Britannica, Pax Romana. That's long-lasting peace by the current powers. So I'm going to show you the North American Union again. Pax Americana. Here we go. Latin for American peace, modeled after Pax Romana, and as I said, right, the Romans, and Pax Britannica, the British, also called the Long Peace, is a term applied to the concept of relative peace in the Western Hemisphere and in the world after the end of World War II in 1945, when the United States became the world's dominant economic culture and military power. Now, that over there, right, military power, that is basically the problem which a lot of countries in the world are facing. Yep. So, we're going to show you guys President or former President Eisenhower warning about the military industrial complex. Yeah. So everything I say is the truth. You know, it's the truth. Well, people do not want to face the truth. They'd rather look the other way. So I don't care. I'm just going to show you guys. I believe it's this one here. I always get confused by these two. Oh, well. That's the long one, 16 minutes. Now we're going to take a look at this one here.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
We know what's going on. We are enlightened, and we're on the path of enlightenment. We're going to take a look at this here. President Trump keynote speech at Oakland County. Let's take a look at this.
Uber driver who is from Detroit, and we were just talking, you know, telling him first time in Michigan, where are some great places to go if I had any time, and
blah, 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 and buy this product, and buy this product, and buy this product. Oh my God. What a world. But Trump had said, if I'm president, I'm going to solve the issue, the Ukraine issue, within 24 hours. Now, I'm wondering, right? How did Biden stumble into the Ukraine war? What really happened? Wasn't it Victoria Nuland who said, F the EU? This is not interesting enough. Awaiting President Trump. Yeah, I'm going to wait some more. Victoria Nuland, Ukraine phone call. There you go. So, Victoria Nuland of the State Department, the U.S. State Department under Obama, was talking to the American official in Ukraine, and their telephone recording is recorded. So we're going to take a look at this here.
Efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it and, you know, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US...
What? What? Yeah. Did she say that? Did she say that? Someone from the State Department said F the EU? What?
Diplomatic efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, you know, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland
and U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, Jeffrey Pyatt. Yep. The same Victoria Nuland who says that there are biolabs in Ukraine. Yep. Now we're going to take a look at that.
and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them.
He's talking about Klitschko and the other guy. What's his name? Oh, well.
4 times a week. You know, I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities, while Nuland refers to getting the United Nations involved in a political solution. And that's where the unfortunate comment arises.
I'm obviously not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations.
Oh, you're not going to comment on that. But you are going to bug the President of the United States, right? And see transcripts of what he said to Zelensky, who became president. Basically, he's an actor. He played piano with his penis. Yep. You may say it's weird, but really true. So you're going after Trump, right? And everything you do, it's like, wow, don't worry about that. Nope. Oh, we got Hunter Biden. Yeah, we got him. You got off with the slap on the wrist, right? Yeah. But when you're a Trump supporter, really, it's...
Does Ukraine have chemical or bio?
This is Mr. Rubio. What's his name? Mark or something? Mad Dog Rubio. I don't know, Mr. Rubio. And he's going to ask Victoria Nuland, who's gained a lot of weight. I wonder how come. Maybe it's because of Trump, right? The Trump derangement syndrome. And she's also somewhat grayer. So we're going to take a look at this here. Mr. Rubio says, does Ukraine have biological research facilities or something along those lines?
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are...
Oh, like in Wuhan, right? And if I would believe Russell Brand, he figured it out. He really figured out. Patient 0 came from the biolab, right? So I'm going to take a look at that too. Let's see if we can find it. Here. Lab leak confirmed. COVID patient 0 were at Wuhan lab. Right. Gain of function research, huh? Well, we know you guys were making bioweapons. Well, we know you want control over us. Depopulate us. We know. We're awake. Only we have to figure out how to get rid of you. So we're going to take a look at Russell Brand explaining where patient 0 came from.
Suggests that the first people that got coronavirus worked at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and a new report tells us that US taxpayers funded it. So in a way, we, if you're a US taxpayer, caused and funded the whole pandemic. Thanks a lot, us. Hello there, you 6.4 million.
And RHTVLive was right. We were right all along. But we were banned because we showed you the CEO of Pfizer, right? He went to the World Economic Forum. He said nothing. Coward.
Million Awakening Wonders, thanks for joining us on this voyage together towards truth and freedom. And what a voyage it is when the truth is continually concealed, undermined and denied by the most powerful institutions in the world, whether that's the state or the mainstream media. Turn on your notification bell right now so you get our content when we make it daily, and join us on Rumble. 5 days a week we make this show where we have interviews like the one we had with Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger, where they broke this story for the first time outside of their Substack, that the first people that contracted coronavirus worked by coincidence at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, there's no evidence that tells us that they hadn't just been in a bat cave for their own reason, brushing up against bats, sniffing bats, maybe even licking bats. But that, coupled with the fact that US taxpayers funded that research, starts to demonstrate perhaps why particular narratives were amplified and others were undermined, withdrawn and shut down. This is an important conversation about power. It involves some of the most influential institutions in the world. What can we learn from this? How can we prevent it happening again? And I don't just mean more pandemics, I mean more global corruption.
Details on the origins of the coronavirus suggest that the virus escaped from a Chinese lab in Wuhan.
Of course it did. It's so strange, isn't it, the way that this is unfolded. Let me know in the chat if you already have a kind of fatigue around this, if you've stopped concentrating on it. The way to keep yourself engaged and interested is by reminding yourself about what happened during that 2-year period, the way that information was censored, the way...
We know what happened. We know we were censored. There were even lies we did about the Wuhan lab of virology and stuff like that, and YouTube censored it. Nope, you're not allowed to show that. You're not allowed to show a Chinese researcher who fled China and stuff like that. You're not allowed to show that. Nope. But now you are allowed to talk about it. And now the consensus has shifted, right? Now a lot of people are like, it came from a lab. Well, if those people first said, it came from a wet market and stuff like that, what a world we live in, right? So
the way that people were ridiculed, the way that certain solutions were quite aggressively pushed, the rhetoric on the news, people should be shamed. All of this is just months ago, now being revealed explicitly and plainly.
People forget, people forget really quickly. But I don't forget. We're going to shut down. We've been long live enough. And of course, we're going to show Natasha Maeve. There we go. We love Natasha with her beautiful rap songs. Keep your spirit up. Yep, that's what we're doing. We're keeping our spirit up. We're lighting the fire again and again and again and again. We'll keep coming back. Oh, there.
I'll always slip the truth in these songs. If I didn't, I wouldn't feel like I'm righting my wrongs. I gotta switch it up. I'm sick of the sadness, sick of the anger. I rap it out to an old school beat that hits so hard it's a headbanger. I'm breaking free. I was trapped in the everyday chamber. I escape now. Now you can dance for the remainder of this tape now. I'm lightening the mood because we gotta keep in shape. Keep the balance while we stay awake. Make no mistake, don't pretend that it's all good, but don't think that it's all bad. There's a lot of love, a lot of light, a lot of memories to be made and good times to be had. I wanna bring back that boom bap, dance your ass off all night. Real dancing while you're free, not twerk and treat you like a rag doll. You're acting brain dead, I'm done with Sergio, that's what Jane said. I watched a flag fall, and I know it's time to live our lives like it's our last day. Humans are treating Mother Earth like she's an ashtray. They won't make it home on the last train. Where we going? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I just know that this matrix is a fucking lie. So I'm getting out and I'm living life. The trees, the breeze, the rocks, the plants, the medicine, the dirt, the water. I am Mother Earth's daughter. Too smart to be a victim of the slaughter. And this beat, could it get any hotter? You know I love the fire because I get to watch it all burn down. This phony ass empire. I love the fire because we get to watch it all burn down. This phony ass empire. So love the fire. Keep your mind sharp, keep your body strong, keep your lips smiling, keep your eyes brightened, keep your spirit up, 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 keep your spirit up, keep your spirit up, 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 keep your mind sharp, keep your body strong, keep your lips smiling, keep your eyes brightened, keep your spirit up, 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 keep your spirit up, keep your spirit up, 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 keep your heart loving, keep it light. Bump to this heavy beat and let the pain and the energy that you don't need escape and be free. It's alright. You can use this music as your therapy. Every time the snare hits, it's clearing your body and your mind from the trash you don't need. It's magic, it's alchemy. Just put a little trust in me. I got you. Most of my life, no one had me. Now I can see exactly what we all need. So let it go, bob your head, dance it out. Feel these words in every cell of your body. Feel these words, feel these words, feel these words. Goodbye pain, goodbye to the thoughts that don't serve my brain. Goodbye to the doubt, I don't doubt myself. Those days are long gone, I live for the earth. Life goes on, goodbye lies. Goodbye to the shitty parts of yesterday. They do nothing for us, it's a new day. Hello good times, hello to the last. The strength, the self-love, the smell of the flowers, the sunshine, the warmth of a fire on a cold day. Fuck the future, fuck the old days. Hello to now, right now, right now. It's all about now. So stay in the moment and keep your mind sharp. Keep your body strong, keep your lips smiling, keep your eyes brightened, keep your spirit up, up, up. Keep your spirit up, keep your spirit up, up, up. Keep your mind sharp, keep your body strong, keep your lips smiling, keep your eyes brightened, keep your spirit up, up, up. Keep your spirit up, keep your spirit up, up, up. Keep your heart loving, keep it light.
Thank you, Natasha Maeve, for your beautiful rap songs. I also like the first collection. So we've been live for 3 hours and 14 minutes. And before closing, we're going to show you our beautiful planet once more. There we go. This is our beautiful planet. And it's, yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? All these borders and stuff like that, wars. It's really, really odd world that we live in. It is a beautiful world, but we are trying to overthrow countries and stuff like that. You know, we should look in the mirror and say what we're doing is wrong. Supplying Ukraine with all sorts of weapons and stuff like that. War is peace, right? War is peace. I don't think so. I think war is the last thing within diplomacy. So, some good stuff. We're just trying to inform people on what's going on in the world. And it's all for free, right? Bij geen wappie, ja? Leg alleen uit wat er gebeurt. Ja. En het verdelen, the separation that needs to end, right? We're all humans. We're not the lunatic fringe. I mean, we're just people who know what's going on. Who know what's going on. And who speak out. We need more. But that's up to you. So, we'll see each other next time. Thank you all for watching. And of course, sharing. And we'll see each other next time.